Okay, Nick and Andy, the finale is here of Euro 2024, Spain against England in Berlin. My word, I am equal measures excited and nervous, I think, for this as an Englishman, Nick Mendola. But this has been a great tournament. The last, few days, the semi-finals have really, again, have just underlined the quality, I think, at the very, very top of this tournament. What are your thoughts and vibes heading into this game? Because Spain obviously had the chance to win a fourth European title. England's never done it. And I think it's fair to say there is one clear favourite for this final.
Well, first and foremost, congratulations to you. Very, very exciting. Totally well-earned. Well, 99.9% well-earned. Apparently, you can't try to block shots anymore. But besides that, England looked as good as you can look, but without scoring for most of the first half. I thought that could have been 2-3-0 at point, or 3-1 it would have been at points. And I think you have to feel confident. I think we throw around the term team of destiny too much, so I don't want to go into that territory. But you have to say that at any point in the last 2 years, have the vibes been higher? The answer is obviously no, and you ride it.
It's true, and I think momentum is huge at tournaments. Confidence in football, it can change very quickly. And I think whatever happens, if England are victorious, then we'll probably look back to that overhead kick from Jude Bellingham in the last 16 when England are about to go out and say, wow, it was destiny, it was fate, it was meant to be. I'm really happy for this team and Gareth Southgate in particular that they've got back to a final and given themselves an opportunity to kind of right the wrongs from 3 years ago at home against Wembley, at Wembley against Italy, losing on penalty kicks. Yeah. It was such a huge moment, and I think in that tournament they played better. The last Euros, they probably would have been deserved winners, but this time out, maybe they'll get a bit of luck on their side, like they have a little bit in this tournament. But I would still say that Spain are the favourites for me, and rightly so, given the way they've played. Andy, you want to add anything else onto that?
Yeah, no, I think you got to give Southgate some credit as well for what he did in the semifinal, the willingness to take a Harry Kane off in the 80th minute, Phil Foden off in the 80th minute, and make an early change, be more proactive, and get a couple players with fresh legs on the field earlier. I recognize Harry Kane, captain, all-time leading goal scorer for England. The list goes on of how important he is to that team. But when he's not doing the business, he brought somebody else in. Ollie Watkins, what does he do? Come into the game and score the winner there at the very end. It's just, being willing to change and deviate from plan A, I think is probably something that more international managers need to be willing to do. At 60 minutes, 70 minutes, if a player's race is run, it does not matter who that player is, maybe aside from Lionel Messi. Get him off the field, get some fresh legs in there. Yeah. And so I felt like Southgate impacted that game in a way that he hadn't during this tournament so far, and that, looking through a U.S. men's national team lens, I think a lot of us probably would have liked to have seen from Greg Berhalter as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was great to see his celebrations and the release, I think, of emotion for Southgate at the final whistle there in Dortmund, just to celebrate with the fans. He's been getting a lot of stick, not just for this tournament, but for many years. And I think now this is the moment, really, that England need to... The players need to deliver for him, I think, because they love him. They love playing for him. You speak to any of the England players, they back him and appreciate what he's done. And as an England fan, let's not forget, for many, many years, for decades before this, they had great teams, but it's never been this good. They were never reaching back-to-back major tournament finals. So whatever happens on Sunday, hats off to Southgate. Focusing on Spain, though, Nick, I mean, Yamal, Williams, Olmo, I mean, this team is extremely dangerous. And they're key, right? I think Williams and Lamau, I think they gave them the X factor against France. Obviously, Ruiz and Rodri in midfield are so important, the way they press high in this system and win the ball back so early is key. But those wingers in particular, those young wingers, are electric. And I think especially with the wing-back situation for England, they can have a lot of joy in this final for Spain.
They can. I don't want to sleep on that little nugget you fixed in there, because this is the sort of game that is legacy defining. And I look at this as something where if Spain win, are we going to talk, does Rodri's name go from the oh, how is he compared to Declan Rice? How is he compared to the best central midfielders in the world?
Well, and having an asterisk to being in Pep's system as well.
Right,
I feel
exactly.
like that's going to be held against him too.
He becomes he becomes mentioned in the greatest midfielders of all time. Yeah. And I don't know that you can play a 16-year-old and a 21-year-old with such little experience. I mean, you can say the same thing for England with some of the young people they've played in Declan Rice. Sure. I don't know if you can play those players without the marshal that is Rodri. And so Lamal, what a goal. Or Yamal, Lamal, what a goal. But for me, yeah, it's been underscored. Rodri is, I mean, is he a Ballon d'Or candidate?
He has to be, but holding midfielders aren't usually getting this kind of praise from everybody. But
it's a Van Dijk type thing from Liverpool. Yeah, Van Dijk a couple years ago. It feels like it's bigger than a position.
I agree with you, and I think that Rodri hasn't even had to really be at his influential best in this team, because it's like the attacking players, you go and do the damage. I'll play a slightly different role. And that's what I love about him this tournament. It isn't the same role like Andy mentioned for Man City. He's proven he can do it in a slightly different way in the Spanish system. And hats off to De La Fuente, what he's done with this team. When you actually look on paper, they are playing as a unit. This is a collective. You've got guys like Cucurella, Laporte, obviously Danny Carvajal, so solid throughout this tournament. I think it's a great unit, and I think it's a great fit. And I think Spain are the favourites for good reason, given their form. But Andy, again, on England, there's a resilience, right? I mean, to be trailing in the round of 16, quarterfinals, semi-finals, come back and win all of those games, trending in the right direction. And I think they found some comfort in this 3-4-2-1 to keep defending well, but also give themselves a bit more freedom on the ball when they do get it to their best players.
Yeah, I don't know if the form matters at this point, because they're coming up against an England team that has been working, through the formula throughout this tournament and trying to figure it out and what's the right combination. You mentioned it there, Joe, getting the three-man back line, who was going to play alongside Declan Rice. A lot of questions, the same questions that we had in the group stage when we were talking about this is just not good enough from England. They're not going to go anywhere in this tournament. They've answered them, and they're still there, and so they are rounding into form. They are working out what their formula is. And so I think people are sleeping on England, as weird as it is to say that, ahead of this final, because of how good Spain have been, because they are now coming up against what we felt like. Think back to the early June. What we expected from England in this tournament is what they're starting to become, the way that they're aggressive and confident. And they went after the game in those final 10, 15 minutes against the Netherlands. They didn't sit back and just let extra time and penalties come and hope to survive. They went for it. They're confident in a way that they haven't been. And so I'm actually leaning towards England if you want to get into predictions, Joe.
Oh, well, let's leave it just a little bit before then. You're getting me way too excited over here, mate, at the moment. So I think some of the team news is interesting, right, Nick? Because Spain, did they bring back Carvajal and Lenormand, who were both suspended for the semi-final against France? Morata looks like he's going to be okay after that unfortunate incident with the security guard on the pitch sliding into him. Looks like he's going to be fit to start. And I guess for Spain, those are the issues. And then for England, the only real selection dilemma I can see is, does Luke Shaw start at left wing back over Kieran Trippier and then maybe play for 60 minutes and then bring in Trippier? Because obviously Shaw is still working his way back to fitness. But any other real selection or, dilemmas that you see for these two coaches ahead of this game?
No, honestly, it's for England. It is a scenario where I think how you want to start. And maybe you don't even mess with it at this point. And Gareth Southgate has shown such a distinct and strong finger on the pulse of what's going on. Obviously, the Tony switch worked. The Watkins switch worked. I mean, he's getting that. There's a lot there to say that he's getting right. And so, I mean, I think Shaw, they look much more solid with Shaw there. But at some point, it's what's the temperature of the room, and I'm going to trust that he makes the right call. He's the one in there, and he has proven adept at doing so. And I love that Watkins and Tony have both come out and just said, yeah, you know what? I hate not playing, and it's been very frustrating, but I get it. and I was ready to make the most of it. So that room is well attuned to what their goals are.
Yeah, and I think the decision with Shaw is, can he go against Lamine Yamal? And how can he go for 60 minutes? And actually, if he's a slightly more attacking and balanced option than Trippier, do you play him for 60 minutes and then just go all out, and you have a very solid defensive backup in Trippier for the final 30 minutes? Do you go with your strongest lineup from the start? I think they will do, but I kind of feel like pragmatism might win out in this one for Southgate, and it probably would start with Trippier at left wing back just to do a job as best as he possibly can on him out. I think Carvajal will come back in for Spain, and I'm not sure on Lenormand or Nacho, because of just Nacho, the veteran, the big game experience, how well he did in the semi-final. I think that's a flip of a coin situation for Spain there at centre-back. So it's a couple of little selection dilemmas for these coaches, but we kind of know what we're going to get from both these teams. And I'm excited because there are very different styles of play that we're going to see in the final in Berlin on Sunday. Andy, I'm coming to you for your prediction first, mate. You hinted at maybe an England win, so what are you going for?
Yeah, I'm going to give it to you guys. I think they're just going to be able to slow Spain down just enough to where Spain then have to break them down defensively, and we've not really seen them have to do that at this tournament. It's been wide open. It's been very quick, counterattacking play, and if England take that away, Danny Olmo as the unlocker of the defense, the playmaker, I don't know if I buy it if that's what the game becomes, and I think that's a smart play from Southgate. So I'll go 2-1 to England.
Nick?
I apologize, Joe. Sincerely. I hope that I'm wrong.
Okay.
I look at Netherlands tournament, then I look at England, and the best team they've beaten, the most notable win in this tournament is the Netherlands. 3 draws and getting by. Spain, unbeaten, beat Croatia, beat Italy, beat Germany, beat France in the same tournament. I'll be pulling for you. I think it's borderline bonkers to go against what my brain is saying, and that is it'll be one of the most impressive tournaments in history if they then beat England, and I think they will. I think it will be tight. I'll go 2-1.
See, I've flip-flopped through every kind of result possible.
I'm sure.
While you guys have been talking and thinking ahead of this segment. Initially, I wanted to give it to Spain, and I think that extra quality in attack just will probably be able to hurt England on the transition. And I think Rice and Mainu have a big job in midfield to kind of control the tempo and stop Rodri and Ruiz getting on the ball and getting the ball to those attacking talents that Spain have. I'm going to go for 1-1 draw. And then, I don't know, something about this England team in this tournament. I'm going to say they win on penalty kicks and avenge the penalty kick shootout defeat from 3 years ago in the final. So we have different predictions there, lads. To see what happens, head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com for all the information on the final, how to watch, analysis. We've got predicted lineouts. We've got you covered before, during, and after the game. Spain against England in Berlin. Let's see what happens.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock. And be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you there.